YouTube family, what is up everyone? Original Grown B. A few videos back I did a tips abstract and I said that it would kind of be a series within a series and I would break it down into a few parts. This is part 2 of that series, how to read. So if you have not seen the first one, go back and watch the first one because this is cumulative. I will be assuming that you have knowledge that I have given in that particular video, and it's really supposed to stack on what I'm going to be talking about today, and to help you avoid one of the biggest mistakes, because today I'm talking about how to read off streaks. And if you haven't learned how to read without streaks, you may become a little bit too dependent on your streaks, and as a result, become a bad reader in general. So please take a look at that video, Tips Abstract Episode 4, How to Read, before continuing this video. And just to give you all an idea of what to expect from this mini-series within a series, Tips Abstract Episode 6 will be talking about how to read off perks and equipment. So perks and equipment will both be bundled together on episode 6 of Tips Abstract, and then episode 7 we'll be talking about how to avoid being read, and that will close out the series. So without wasting any more time, I have the Black Ops 3 score streak list here, and I'm pretty much going to be pulling out the ones that I feel like are best for reading. Now I know for the most part that kind of sounds contradictory because the main point of this series is grounded on the fact that I don't tell you what to use, I don't tell you what to run, I kind of tell you how to think about things and let you choose how to apply those logics to your own skill set. But I promise you, if I had the time, I would tell you why the ones that I am skipping aren't best for reading. Not that you can't read off them, but why they are not the best. And I want to teach y'all, or at least educate you on something that I feel like is going to work, something that I feel like everyone can take from, no matter how you choose to play the game. Alright, so the best streaks to read off of in alphabetical order, not order of importance, are as follows: the Cerberus, the Guardian, the Hater, the Hardened Sentry, the Mothership, and the UAV. So the UAV is good for reads for obvious reasons. It tells you the location of most of the enemies on the map. The only weakness that it has is actually pretty overcomable. The fact that you have to wait on the refresh. But the refresh is consistent. You know how quickly you will get that information. The refresh doesn't change every single time it refreshes. So, something that's actually a little more difficult in this game because of the boost jumping mechanics and the sliding mechanics, but for the most part you can time the direction and you can time how quickly enemies will get to certain areas if you just watch the refresh go by. It's actually something that one of my friends, OB Venom, does quite often. You see a red dot on the minimap, you notice that it's moving a particular direction, you wait a few seconds, step out, and you can usually meet that particular enemy in the area that you are expecting them to go. And for those of you who may not know, because I didn't realize this when I first started getting on this game, the more UAVs you have, the faster that refresh actually comes. So you get more accurate information on where those enemies are. But another important thing about using the UAV is not using it just to get yourself kills. Use it to protect your teammates. Use it for your teammates who may not read the minimap as well as you. And especially for the primary reader. A lot of times I will give call outs based off the minimap because I know that for the most part I look at the minimap a little bit more than some of my friends. So I'll see someone on the mini map, I'll call out the location, and at that point you give your teammate the opportunity to read and figure out where that enemy is. Even if that enemy decides to move or change direction or do something that you obviously can't necessarily predict, you still give that information to your teammate, and as a result, he can make a better decision and read off of maybe the mini map himself, or obviously you as a teammate. Now, I included the Cerberus in this. It's one of the least effective readable streaks, but it's not completely useless because it's really hit or miss. And the reason why it's hit or miss is because unless you have a teammate controlling the Cerberus, since the Cerberus moves around on its own, and you really have to kind of read off where the Cerberus is shooting and who it's killing, it makes you really dependent on looking at the mini map the entire time, to where if you do hear your Cerberus shooting or your Cerberus does get a kill, if you're not right next to it, then you have to look up on the mini map to try to determine where those things are happening at, versus something like the sentry gun and the guardian, which I'm going to talk about next, which are for the most part stationary, and as a result you can get better reads off those. So jumping into those, the Cerberus, the sentry gun and the guardian, in my opinion, are the two best streaks in the game to get reads off of, and here's why. So about this sentry gun and this guardian, two streaks that you see a lot of in this particular game, they're great because they're stationary. And since they are stationary, you do not have to look at the mini-map in order to get the information that they provide. They also aren't talkers. So the sentry gun doesn't shoot for no reason, and you don't get guardian suppress assist for no reason. And what that means, and what that tells you, it sounds weird, but what it tells you is that if your sentry gun is shooting, someone is there. If you're getting guardian suppress, someone is there. There's a lot of trickery that goes on in this game, but when you hear your sentry gun going off, or when you're getting those suppression assists, someone is there. You now have almost the exact location of an enemy, and that's great for reads. What about when the sentry gun's not shooting, Grown B? I set up sentry guns and it never gets me any kills. That's fine. You're using the sentry gun wrong. Let's say me and two of my teammates are on the far left side of the map, we're not being shot at, and we don't see anything in front of us. I have two sentry guns mid and they're not shooting anything. I'd be willing to bet my PS4 that there are enemies on the far right side of the map, because where else can they be? That's the type of information you get when you run map control streaks, and you're not running these streaks just to get kills. As I said in my video, how to use a sentry gun, the sentry gun's job is to get the enemies into the part of the map that you are most comfortable with. As a result, you'll win those gunfights more often than not. So I respect my viewers enough to where, I'm not going to be that guy who feels like I have to teach you how to use the hater, but I will say this. The best place to use the hater is just outside the enemy spawn, because for the most part, I know that sometimes you can get overwhelmed by the hater because it's so much information, and basically your mini-map gets filled up with 6 red triangles, and if they're good, they're gonna do weird stuff that they normally wouldn't do just to try to psych you out. And rather than deal with all these different triangles and all these different directions, I feel like one of the best things to do is just to get them just outside their spawn. because when they're all out everywhere, you suddenly become so dependent on that minimap because you want to make good decisions. You start looking at the minimap a little bit too long, and then, you know, just like that, you make bad decisions that you wouldn't make if you had just like a regular UAV up. So that's the only bit of advice that I have for the hater, as I just destroy this dude with his own axe. But what I wanted to close out with you all is the mothership. I never realized that the mothership you can actually get good reads off of. Now you're kind of dependent on call outs from the teammates who are actually inside the mothership, but if you see your mothership like laying down in an area, you pretty much know that area is safe to move through. You wait on those call outs, and for the most part you can get easy kills inside, or you can get easy call outs from your teammates. So let me know if this was some good information to you all, and hopefully I've taught you how to read well with streaks. And the original Grown B, we'll see y'all later.